Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind, these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy.
All right, folks, let's jump in and take some quick looks at some stocks from today. So we are after hours on Monday, December 27th. We're going to kick things off with Alpha Pro Tech. So Alpha Pro jumping up really strongly today, over 22%. And this 741 level and this 774 level I actually had in from previous charts. I don't know exactly where the price action was, maybe around here, something, when I was charting it last. But funny enough, it came up pretty close to that 741 level. It reached a high of 746. So it jumped over it by 5 cents and then came back down. Now, I've thrown in these levels that I would look for to play probably some key roles in the coming day or days. 701 is sort of a weak level in my opinion. There's this sort of price action here and then this support level here. I don't think it's as strong as 741. I don't think it's as strong as 653. I think probably the strength of 701, if it proves to have any supportive power, would be more from the psychological $7 level. That would be my guess. Now, if it is able to continue to the upside and it's able to flip through that 741, the next level is pretty tight in, as I would see it, that 774. And then, we can come back and take another look if it gets through that. But I would say that the next level from there is probably about low to mid eights. Yeah, before it hits a ton of friction. So it might have some decent run room there. Now, if it does come down, I'd look for it to try to catch support at 653. And if it can't hold that, again, I didn't put it in here, but I'd look for about $6, right? They're probably that $6 psychological level to come in and try to hold. Now, the other thing that I'd look for it to try to hold is sort of this uptrend that it's developed. You could say like this. That would be another opportunity, depending on when it interacted with that along the days ahead, for it to continue to hold there. And that way it could sort of like ascending triangle itself through a bunch of these resistance levels to the upside if it's able to continue that bullish action. All right, Peloton. So Peloton, one of the uglier charts that you're going to find in terms of like from a bull's perspective anyway. Just insane. I mean, this day here alone down 35%, and this is 130 almost at highs, and now it's 36 measly dollars. So obviously to me, breaking this down channel is like the most important thing, and whether that means that it's able to sort of like put together some movement to get itself out of this upper bound of the channel, or if it's able to just consolidate itself sideways, that would also break that channel. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it'll reverse to the upside, but at least gives it a base or foundation from which to try to make a next movement, which could at least be a movement to the upside. Like I said, I don't know if it would be. You have to assess it at that time, but to me, that's the most important thing. Break that downtrend channel and then like figure it out from there. Now, the closest in levels as I see it, 3903 nearest resistance, 3438 nearest support. So it's sort of down here like a bit in no man's land. So I had to go back to here to pull these levels, right? Oh no, sorry, that's in the 80s. I had to go back here. Yeah, and there was this like movement here, and then there was this gap, and yeah, so this is where I pulled these levels from. That's where this 39 level comes from. This is where that 3438 comes from, and then this 2931 comes from all this previous price activity. But I mean, you see how that sort of like interlays with where it is at the time being. And, if it gets into this gap, obviously that could be good news in terms of like maybe there's not a lot of resistance in that area, but I mean, it has a lot of work to do to get itself into that gap. It would have to like nearly double the price at the moment. And that's not the trend at the moment. So that's where I see it in terms of like these three levels being key, as well as breaking that channel. All right, BKKT. So it had this wild run up and then this like pretty sustained sell-off, tried to consolidate here, and then has sold off further. Now it's consolidating again. So like we said, when it comes down and it consolidates, that doesn't mean that it's going to reverse trend. It just means that it's consolidating, preparing for its next move. And the consolidation doesn't give you an indication of a trend reversal. It gives you an opportunity to catch the next move when it breaks that consolidation range, right? So right now it looks to me like it's just putting in this range again. Now these are levels that I had already had on the chart and seem to be holding up relatively well. 993 is the nearest in level as I have it. It's right about at that level at the moment, so I will look for that to be the nearest in support or resistance. I'd actually go back here to try to pull in a slightly better range. Probably this 911. I mean, these are really tight in, but when the stock price is so low, these are like relatively solid percentage movements. So to zoom in here, these are the levels that I see at the moment. But also maybe look at sort of like, I don't think it has all of this run room. I think that $12, yeah, it probably has a mark here at about $12, maybe a little bit less, probably shy of $12 as it approaches that. There might be some sort of like psychological challenges to getting it up over 12. And then it's probably like a bit of a band of resistance here, to be honest, from like that 1173 to 1214. But this is what I look for, to the sort of immediate nearest in price zone, 993, whether, like I said, whether that's nearest in support or resistance, just depending on where the price fluctuates at that period of time. 911, 844 to the downside. If it is able to make a move to the upside, it might have relatively like okay run room to 1173 if it can get that kind of momentum and mojo working. But then it's got a pretty tight zone here. 1173 to 1214 might kind of just act as one cumulative, like really tough resistance band, and have to see how it reacts to that. If it's able to surpass that, then it might be able to give a go to 1369. But this, I think, is going to be a tough one if and when it's able to make a go at it. MRNA, MRNA is situated right now at this level, like 245.74 or so, is the nearest in level that I'd be looking at for potential support. If it can sort of secure that, this 253 might be kind of a challenging level, but otherwise 257 should be within range. If it continues to sell off, 232.80, 225.52 seem to make sense to me. You see this price action back here, but I mean, it's really spotty, like really like odd charting on this one. It's just kind of all over the place. Like this was like nice natural looking kind of movement, right? And then when we get into like November, it's just it's really just all over the place, and like pretty tough maneuvering through the chart. Now the other thing that I look at here is like maybe a bit of a of uptrend support here. I should stick this here and here. So I'd look to see, this is really close in. If it's able to hold this at all, this would be like the third sort of level that would confirm this uptrend support on. And it's not really like crazy uptrend support, but it might get it back to sort of a more natural looking motion and movement if it is able to hold this and work itself through. So we'll see. But if it breaks that, then that might be pretty challenging for it. But who knows? It has these huge gap ups and gap down, so it's just all over the place. Now Apple, obviously on this sort of legendary run at the moment, seeking that $3 trillion market cap, and I'm currently playing Apple. What I'm looking at is, obviously it has this really steep uptick recently, but it did get itself through this 179.47, which is where it topped out basically on these three candlestick bodies. I know this wick reached up here to this like 181.22-ish level, but to me, the body of that candle getting situated over that 179.48, I guess is what I have on there actually, could be really significant. Now, it's also a lot to ask for it to continue to run and run and run and run and run. But it hasn't had like really crazy huge green days, not like these are all like 10% gains or even 5% gains, right? So it could still have some juice left to be squeezed. I would keep an eye on the volume. This is the one thing that kind of makes me a little bit concerned is all the volume generally dying off a bit. We could pull this up a little bit clearer. I don't know if we're going to take the time to do this, but here we go. You see here this blue line, so we're situated well below that. Time being, it's kind of taken a nosedive here recently. So while the price is going up, that volume's kind of dipping down pretty strongly. And so, that's the only thing. I'm not sure. I mean, part of me thinks that maybe if we get through these levels, this 179, 47 being the most recent one, that they'll just sort of be like that want in the market to see it reach that 3 trillion, which I know seems silly, but it's also there's a strong psychological component to the market. I don't know if that's the case, but it certainly could be. And to try to get it there before the end of the year could additionally be layering on top of that another level of sort of like psychological pressure or influence. And so it's less of a chart motion to me, though those are chart levels that I'm interested in, and sort of a psyche kind of evaluation, which is admittedly just kind of a guess or speculation on my part. All right, and Facebook here. So another kind of like spotty chart, but it's really just kind of chopping in this range, right? It's not really doing anything of note between, say, like 309 and this like let's just say 350. So 309 to 350, pretty big range. But it is just kind of like coming down off of this from being in the 380s and then chopping around in this area and building itself a range. And I think it's just kind of waiting to see, where is it going to break from here. To note, I would also say that there's this is a cumulative chart. Oh, whatever. But anyway, you see this long-term uptrend that was holding here, and it briefly lost it, and then was able to jump back over and reconfirm here. And now it's looking to push off of this again. So I would keep an eye on what it's doing there. And if it does leave it like it did here, if it's leaving it relatively briefly and then making a run back over it, that's one thing versus leaving it and then losing all of these additional support levels below. Then there might be a pretty significant drop in play, maybe something down, like certainly below 300, maybe in this like 295, 296 range, but we'd have to see. Otherwise, if it's able to break through that 350 again and establish that as support, then I would say it's giving itself an opportunity to make another run toward this 380, and having sort of like broken itself out of this range where it's been spent the last, say, few months, October, November, and now basically December. So we'll see that 3-month or so consolidation if it provides any movement off of there. All right, folks. Well, I hope that your trading week is off to a good start, being the last trading week of the year. I hope you finish the year strong, and I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video.